mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now. I'm on a mission now.
I'm going to be tying a Sandshark fly, aka Guitarfish, or locally known as our Sandies. It's a bit of a crossbreed between a shark and a stingray, and this is the fly that we use, or I use. There's many different types. If you're going to play the odds, this is the fly I'd say for beginners to do. To describe it, it'll be a Kwan. It's literally a Kwan with craft fur at the back, chenille on the body, bead chain eyes. The only difference here is instead of having 2 bead chain eyes, we're going to go for 4. That's to create an outrigger and avoid the fly being flipped over when the Sandshark push down on it. And a little mohawk right at the front as the target. This will be the first place that the Sandshark will detect the fly. Once it will pick up this movement, but once it pushes down on the fly, this is where we want it to aim. This will be the highest spot of the fly. So we want all of this quite flat. You don't want it to sit up at an angle. So this is the design. Most of the things we'll use for this fly, it's pretty basic, nothing spectacular. You're going to use a circle hook. There's quite a few circle hooks available, and the size is not very specific, but the way you use the hook, we'll get to that. We'll talk about the other material first. Craft fur, just for the tail section, chenille for the body, and then some Rooster Hackle for the front, just to give it a little bit of a mohawk. Probably the most important things is the hook and the orientation and the position of the hook. A normal standard size circle hook has got too much of a bend up at the top with the hook point down. So theoretically what I need is a circle hook but in the shape of a J hook, and that we will have to do ourselves. Some hooks will be fine, but I like to adjust this usually from a size 1 down to a size 6 is perfect. I don't want to bend this part. This is not where you want to bend the hook. You literally want to lift this tip up and make it in line with the shaft of the hook. And then I'll show you an easy test to see if you are in the right position. So usually I grab it behind the barb and get a good grip on it and just open it up very slightly. If you debarb it, it's not the end of the world. I'm almost happy with that, and I will show you now. There's a very good test you can do to see if you are too far. You need to slide a flat surface onto the hook from the eye to the hook tip. In theory, what I want here is I want something that's not going to bite onto a flat surface. So this hook, you can see it's hooking on my finger. So this hook is too far open. Only thing we're going to do here is adjust it ever so slightly. You're going to bend it a little bit close, not too much, just get it. And then what you're going to do is use your finger again, and there we go. I'm kind of happy, but I know if I bend that hook ever so slightly, just get the tip a bit down, I'm going to be in the money now. There we go. That's perfect. This hook is sliding now. It's not hooking on a flat surface, and that's what you want. The main reason for that is the Sandshark's flat. If you can imagine the Sandshark belly, it's pretty flat. And if you're going to drag the fly underneath him, you don't want the fly to foul hook the fish. So what you want is for the hook to find a gap. Like, let's say, imagine this will be the mouth part. When I present the fly, the fish comes over, it bites onto it, and it doesn't hook there. It slides along and it finds the little gap in the mouth and it will stick there. So if your hook is bent too far down, you're gonna miss that gap, and it's gonna, I won't say you'll miss it, but 90% of the time you're gonna miss it. So all you want is to avoid foul hookups, and there you are. So this will increase your hookup rates. There we go, get it nice and tight. And just for, I'll use Nano thread here. Just gonna lay a base layer. So this is thin thread, Nano thread, 30 denier I think. And this just to make the tying nice and neat. You can use flat wax, you can use mono. It's not very specific. The fish is really not going to see this fly. That's kind of the idea. You don't want, but we'll talk about that at the end. So we're going to lay a nice thread, a little bit of a thread base there, and then next one in is bead chain eyes. We're going to go for 4 of them. So there'll be 2 on each side of 5. There we go. That's it. 4 bead chain eyes. And one thing that you will do different here is leave yourself a little bit more space from the bead chain eyes to the eye of the hook. There's something coming in here, so it'll be more than, I wouldn't say halfway, I'd say the width of the bead chain past halfway will be the perfect spot to put this in. You want to give yourself quite a bit of distance from the hook eye to the bead chain. There we go. Get them on nice and straight. That's it. And I just want to go to the bend of the hook where the hook starts bending. That's it. Next up will be craft fur. And build a little bit of a tail. This is not for movement or any other reason but visual. So I want to have a good visual on the fly. So the tail will give it a bit of length and contrast with the black. And it's just a nice punk fly. So what we'll do is just equal it up. I don't want a long tail, a little bit longer than the body. You can make it longer, but that will be perfect. And we're going to tie that in. Put it up nicely. Get this nice and straight. And go down on it. There we go. I just want to grab to the bend of the hook. If it's going to be a bit up on this side, your fly is not going to go down the way it should. So we're going to creep up a little bit on the bend of the hook so that your hook shaft and the tail is pretty much horizontal with each other. And that's it. And then we're going to cut the excess off. Make sure it's in. I don't use a lot of glue on this. I personally just don't think it's necessary because most of the thread base is going to be covered up. I'm going to put Chenille Body on now. So craft fur tail, and next one on will be the chenille. And this is just to give you a bit of contrast. I find this color combination works really good for me. In most of the environments, I personally prefer this color, but chartreuse is also really good. White, strangely enough, shows up pretty good in like brownish water, and you can make it orange. This fly is not really about what it looks like for the fish. It's purely for you to have a good visual on this fish, on this fly. You want to see the fly. That's the most important thing. If you can't see your fly, you're not going to be in it. So seeing the fly is your main priority, and as long as you don't put flash or anything else in there, you'll be able to get the fly in the zone. So once we tie the chenille on, we're just going to palm it straight forward, keep these hairs straight. Pack this, get it nice and tight, unravel the chenille so we don't pinch too much of the material in, and then we are going to go tight wraps as tight as we can. It's quite important to get this nice and tight, because we are going to trim it just to give it a flat, almost like a merkin style shape of a body, just to make it sink a little bit faster through the water column. If you're going to leave it round, it's not going to be able to move nicely through the water column. So once we've formed it, we're just going to tie it off. Give it a few wraps just to make sure we've got it good and proper. The fly is almost done at this stage. Just one little thing. Get your fingers in there, and then I'm just going to clean up the nose. I really need this nose to be clean. So I want to go in tight onto the bead chain and just clean it up. So get in there as tight as you can. Try not to catch any of that material. And there we go. And we're going to tie off here. So what we want to do with this chenille body is make it so it goes through the water column a little bit faster. This shape will provide you with a lot of resistance, so we need to cut things down, but we still want to keep the width of the fly, and that's purely because you need to see this fly. The inside of the gape we're going to cut flush, and we're going to sit with almost like a merkin shaped crab body with a tail. And that's purely to get the fly down, but we're not losing the width, which is going to be important for you. You need to see this fly. So what we are cutting away is not going to have an effect on what you are going to see. So you go in pretty aggressive, and you can come in pretty close, because we want that really flat. And then once you got the bottom flat, you're going to go in at the top pretty close, and we are going to trim all of that away. You're not going to lose any of the visual aspect of it, because you'll be seeing it from the top, so you still have the width and the color. The main idea is to get the width as you see the fly from the top, the contrast with the purple and the black, and the fly is going to go vertically through the water, and it's going to have a nice thin profile moving through. Just the final step on the nose, and you'll see why we left that decent gap there at the front. We're going to take Rooster Hackle, quite stiff material, stiff fly, and you're going to select any feathers. And what we are going to do is just open it up a bit, pull it back so you don't catch any of them, and we are going to tie in a mohawk, so to speak. I'm going to come in as close as we can to the bead chain eyes. I want to catch that in between, and then just I'm going to tie this feather in there. Just lay the tip over, try and catch it with a loose wrap, and then we're just going to move it backwards as far as we can, getting in tight onto the bead chain eyes. And that's it. I'm gonna go forward. Watch out not to cut your thread. You can do it by hand or you can use the vise. Let's go with the vise. Try and keep your feathers straight just in the beginning, it will all fall in place. Usually like to do it in hand, but we're just going to advance forward here. Let's go forward onto the eye of the hook. You can go as close as you dare, and once we're about tight onto the hook, all we are going to do here is just give it 1 or 2 or 3 wraps to make sure you don't slip. Catch it, it's in. Once it's in, you can just nicely slip the excess off. It's probably enough for another one in there, but the stalk gets a bit thick, so you want the thin part. What we are going to do, you're going to use your middle finger and index finger. We're going to pull all these fibers up, everything you can get. Try and grab every single feather, every single strand of those feathers you can try and catch. And then we're going to start going backwards onto the eye, and we're just going to catch that. So we're going to stop about halfway. Just check where we are, because that will hold most of it, and then you can just come in and grab as much as you can. We don't really want to lose any of that feather, and then we're going to go in and again as tight to the eyes as possible. So usually the Mohawk will push onto the chenille. So all you do here is, ideally this should come as flush as possible, so just pinch all of the feather together and advance in as close as you can, just keeping it upright, and that should turn your Mohawk showing all the way up. There we go, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. If it doesn't want to do that, you can do a quick wrap behind the back. Do another one. There we go. Not finicky. And then once you're there, just clean this up. But that's it. Wrap this up. And cut nice and close. And what I like to do is, instead of using the glue, I'll just use a marker. The ink is more than enough, so we're just going to color this black. That is complete. Just a Mohawk fly, Kwan fly with a Mohawk at the front. The reason for the Mohawk is this is your highest point, so everything else is flat on the ground. So what will happen is, as the fish comes past and you twitch and move that, it'll sense the movement in the bead chain. It's got quite a sound to it and a vibration, and when it pushes down on the fly, the first thing it will feel is these feathers at the top, and that's kind of giving him a target. So I want the fish to bite down where the hook point is, so this will give you a good target. You don't want the fish biting at the tail. So what we are going to do here to get the fly to get a good presentation in, we will be tying a Rapala knot, and you probably would have seen this somewhere else before. So once you've done your overhand knot, pretty simple, but you need to get this right, otherwise your fly is going to go the wrong way. Then what you are going to do is you will install your tungsten bead. What I find works better is to have the small hole at the back. So the small hole will be directed to the eye of the hook. So once you put it in, you're going to tie an overhand knot, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put the bigger hole towards the knot, and then you are going to go through your fly, through the eye of your hook of your fly, and then you are going to go through your Rapala knot. Don't make the loop too short. If you make that loop too short, you're going to lose the advantage. It's going to cramp this hole and the bead can't move. So what's going to happen here is, because you have the big hole at the front and a smaller hole at the back, once this thing is on the ground, it's going to catch more sediment because the hole's bigger. So it's going to push underneath the fly. So what we are going to do is just make a normal Rapala knot. Where this comes into play with a lighter fly is, because you've got the bead at the front and you have a lead core line, fluorocarbon leader, and the weight of the fly is probably the lightest in the setup, what you are creating is an opportunity that where you saw the fly in the water column at the top, once you release the tension by dropping your rod tip, this fly will take a straight route downwards. So it'll be safe to assume that your fly will land at the bottom in exactly the position where the fly itself is. So if it's at this level, up at the top, and it needs to sink a foot, it will turn vertical and will sink 1 foot straight down. And you can assume your fly is in the right position. You're presenting this fly ahead of the fish and overcast a bit. Lift your rod up. Estimate where the line the fish is going to follow, and then drop your rod tip and put the fly down at the bottom. Pick up the slag and be ready and have your fly static. Once the fish swims over it, a little twitch and then a long draw. So a twitch will see the fish go down, bite down on it, and a drag will find the corner of the mouth. And don't try and set the hook. Just keep a steady drag until the hook finds the corner of the mouth. And that's the Mohawk Kwan.